No, it's not. Let me try one more time. We had a little commotion here. We had a little commotion here at Casa Otto this evening. Thanks to this guy. Come here, buddy. Tech support puppy was not being terribly supportive. You'll notice we don't have a fire this evening. One, it just wasn't going to happen with what was going on before the meeting started. And two, it's springtime. It is so warm out. I didn't think we needed one. So thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. This, by the way, I don't know if we've ever actually... this is really the number one pup here at Casa Otto. This is Joey. He's 13 years old now. He's the pup of a dog that I found out in Montana back in 2008. He sort of runs the show from off camera. He might pop in again before we're done. Joe, why don't you go? Well, he might just stay with us for the whole show. Anyway, glad you're here with us tonight, folks. I got a lot to share with you this evening, so let's go ahead and get our screen share started. Yeah. Okay, well, so this might look familiar. This was a video I shared with you a few weeks ago that actually ended up turning into a full-blown column about turtle courtship. These are the two map turtles that we have in our pond at Hickory Knolls. And this is one of several different things that map turtles, painted turtles, red-eared sliders, they're all kind of in the same family. They're different ways that they communicate with each other. It can lead up to actual mating. It can also just be a way of communication between two turtles, as we saw with our Swedberg turtles too. We've got Ike and oh gosh, is it Ebby? And they're just doing their turtle thing. LB, thank you. So many species of male aquatic turtles. We don't see it so much in land turtles. They need their front feet in order to walk around and use them for traction. But in male aquatic turtles, a lot of times we'll see these elongated nails, which are used for stroking or slapping about the face. Well, that's all cool, but I want to show you tonight, this was a study that I came across as I was working on that column about the map turtle courtship. This is an analysis of the courtship behavior of the Blandings turtle, which if you've ever been to Hickory Knolls, we're pretty devoted to this species. It is endangered here in Illinois, and in fact, it is a candidate for federal listing. It's had kind of a rough time throughout its range. It's prone to a lot of different hazards. It walks around a lot, so it gets run over by cars a lot. It sometimes makes some bad decisions that put it into predicaments. In fact, we've actually lost a couple of our captive Blandings turtles to bad decisions that they had made. They also need to be 20 years or so old before they will reproduce. In attaining that age, as I was reading about all the things they do in their courtship, it's no wonder they got to be 20 years old before they can do all this. This was a study where a special tank was constructed and a movie camera was put into place inside a blind. The bottom of the tank, that could be raised and lowered so that they could see the turtles performing their different rites of courtship. basically they weren't adjusting the depth of the water, but this false bottom could move up and down so that the bottom of the pond could raise up and they could still see what was going on, if that makes sense. So they watched these turtles anywhere from 2 to 16 hours a day. That allowed them to see action in the daytime. That allowed them to see things going on at night. It was really quite interesting to see all the steps that they went through to be able to observe these various courtship behaviors. Not only did they record them on film, but then they also made drawings of all these different steps. Turns out there's 8 different would you call them procedures? Would you call them, well, here, they called them motor patterns. This is illustrating 4 different ones. Chinning and chin rubbing, which are actually 2 different things. The male rubs his chin on and about the female's head. He will sway his head back and forth. There's regular swaying, and then there's also violent swaying, where his head actually dips around the either side of the female turtle's head, sometimes actually going underneath her shell. So regular swaying, violent swaying. This diagram sort of reminded me of years and years ago when I was in a ballroom dance class. I did not do well. I don't think I would do well as a Blandings turtle either, following all of these intricate steps, the chase, the mount, gulping. That was, I think I did mention that in the column. That was my favorite out of all the steps. Gulping, it sounds like there's swallowing of water. Well, gulping is only part of it. There's also squirting or spitting. The male turtle will take water into his mouth, and then he'll spit it out at the female. It's thought to have some sensory components. It's also thought that she is deriving some she's able to pick up on some other sensory cues, some smells. Maybe there's some pheromones involved there. But yes, this is a turtle that spits water as part of its mating rituals. You can see there's different time intervals in between these different steps: the chasing, the mounting, the chinning. The gulping seems to occur right there in the middle, right before they get on with the swaying and the violent swaying, and then the actual act of the mating process. So, a little bit of titillation with the long nails of certain species of aquatic turtles. The Blandings really go all out. Interestingly enough, Blandings do not have, the males do not have long claws on their front feet, and they do not use those as part of their courtship. This was a little chart that was part of that Blandings study. It lists titillation, biting, gulping, and head swaying for several different species, including there at the bottom, that's our false map turtle, and right above that, Chrysemis scripta is the red-eared slider, and Chrysemis picta is the painted turtle. So kind of sums up the different lengths that males are known to go to. I think out of all of them, the Blandings turtle is the only one that participates in gulping, also known as squirting. Anyway, thought that was kind of cool. And it's no wonder our turtle, Blandings turtle, is known to always have a smile on its face. All right, let's move on. The last couple of weeks I was drinking from a mug that said Wildlife Prairie Park, and I believe I called it Wildlife Prairie State Park. It was in fact operated by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for a period of years, but I did a little bit of checking on that, and it has gone back to being its own independent operation. It is run as a 501c3, and if you're in Illinois, it's definitely worth a visit. They try to focus on animals that are native to this region. Here's this photo actually shows two of their newest additions. These are two male bison that were acquired from the Midewin herd, which is over at Midewin National Tallgrass Prairie down near Joliet. Hannah City, in case you're not familiar with where Hannah City is, it is west of Peoria. The red pin on this map gives you an idea of where the park is. And then this map gives you an idea of all the things there are to do there. They hold classes there. You can actually stay there. There's a couple of different types of accommodations. They've got a railroad car or two. They've got a cabin or two. There's the animal exhibits, which are set up very natural. They're very spacious. They're not really cages. They are enclosed in the sense that they're fenced, but the areas are quite large. Some of the areas you are looking straight on, in other areas you're looking from above, looking down into an enclosure. There's indoor exhibits as well. They've got a pretty extensive reptile collection there. They have birds of prey, all kinds of cool things that you can see. They have coyotes and bobcats and otters. And they just acquired a skunk that's going to be one of their, I love what they call it, their outreach ambassador. They have bears. And they, as I said, they have lots of reptiles on their indoor displays. They've got some native snakes. They've also got some non-native creatures like corn snakes, so that they can be passed around and handled. Really cool place. If you are so inclined to take a little road trip, I highly recommend paying a visit to Wildlife Prairie State Park. So, Diane, I have to thank you for this. This was an email that Diane, one of our regular viewers, had sent in. This was caught on camera, oh gosh, Diane, what was this, about a week ago or so? Let's see.
Yeah, I forgot the date, but it was 2:30 in the morning. I can tell you, I remember that, 2:36.
2:36 a.m.
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay, all right. So you can kind of see a little movement here, or a little animal here and there. It goes. The beauty of these cameras at night is we can see things later on that we would have no idea were there. Now, Diane, I know you mentioned you'd been out of town, or you would have gone and looked for tracks. I don't know. Sometimes tracking an animal like this can be a little difficult. They're not terribly heavy. I don't know if you all are recognizing it. Let's play it one more time. This is, and I was a little thrown off at first because I thought it was light in color, but then Diane, as we emailed back and forth, we decided it was probably just a trick of nighttime photography. It's a mink going out for a stroll. Lots and lots of things to eat. As the snow is melting, when we talked about nature's snacks, and those being voles and mice, those are certainly on a mink's list. They do tend to live near water and will dig up hibernating frogs over the course of the winter. They'll go and grab crayfish. In fact, they've seen a lot of mink scat with crayfish parts in it. But then they do come up on land, and mammals are certainly fair game too. The mink are members of the weasel family, and as such, they are extremely good at what they do, which is hunting other animals. They're known to form caches too, where they will, a cache is a stash of food. It works really good with, say a chipmunk that is caching food for the winter, seeds and nuts and things like that. Well, sometimes mink will form a cache too, but it's dead animals. So if the mink, oftentimes they end up abandoning their cache because the food goes bad before they're able to eat it. But they're good at what they do, and they will oftentimes take more than they will actually feed on. Now, it was funny, the timing on this was good, Diane. You sent in this video of the mink, and then I got this picture, and this is from our friend Mandy over at the Geneva Park District at Peck Farm. This is in one of the barns on the property there. And when she sent it to me, I at first was like, oh, wow, they've got a lot of split rail fence posts. And then I thought, am I supposed to be looking at the mower? Am I looking at and then I saw it's pretty much right in the center of the photo. Maybe a little bit upper center. Look along the top of those fence posts. Can you see it? I'll zoom in here. It's another member of the weasel family. I believe this is a long-tailed weasel. So, around here a few weeks ago, even we were talking about least weasels. Least weasels are pretty tiny. Their body is maybe 6 inches long. And I asked Mandy for the dimensions of these fence posts, and she thought that this particular one was about 6 inches wide. So the long-tailed weasel is the other species that we have in this area, and yes, they do change out their fur. They molt twice a year. They go from brown to white for the winter, and then they go from white to brown for the spring, summer, and fall. It almost looks like this one's got a little bit of dark fur up on its head, as if maybe its spring molt is starting. Might also just be a trick of the lighting, but this was pretty exciting. We've had these weasels show up in our Park District barns too, out at our Denny Ryan Service Center. We've seen them. We had a least weasel that was living in the maintenance garage behind Hickory Knolls too. If you want a surefire way to get rid of mice, get yourself a weasel. They will hunt. Mandy was really excited to see this one. Hopefully, maybe it will even, invite some friends. But anyway, it's definitely weasel. We do have weasels in this area. They are oftentimes hard to catch sight of, because if you don't have a camera recording movement at 2:30 in the morning, or you don't come into work early. I believe this was probably 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning that this weasel was seen. And they move really fast too, so even if you happen to see them, they can be hard to get any sort of recording of. But anyway, they're out there. Keep your eyes open for them. They're out and about, and until they change to their brown fur, they're probably going to be a little bit easier to see wearing their white coats the way they are right now. So let's stay with this topic of animals with white fur for another slide. So this, for those of you who maybe are new to our group, this is a white squirrel, and it's not just a squirrel with white fur. It is a true albino. People who've seen it say, yes, indeed, it does have white eyes. It lives north of town, north of St. Charles on Crane Road. I looked back because it seemed like we have been seeing the squirrel for a really long time. People in the neighborhood all say they don't think that it's a next generation white squirrel. They're pretty sure it's the same one, given the places that it's been seen and the habits that it has, certain places that it goes to feed and certain places it goes to hide. Its nest has been in a certain place. So anyway, pretty sure it's the same squirrel. In 2020, it had been around for 2 years. So at least 2 years. And so now here we are 2 years later. It's still hanging in there, which I think is just astounding. Now, the picture on the left, that was taken in February when we still had some snow on the ground. And it kind of makes sense that a white squirrel would do okay in a white background, amongst the snow. But take a look at the picture on the right. That was taken about 10 days ago. And it does not blend in at all. Now, sure, there might be a few little pockets of snow around here, but this squirrel is quite obvious when it's out and about. And I was just really excited to see that it's still here. It did get me curious, and I wasn't able to find much information on the longevity of animals with aberrant coloring like this. Do they live longer? Do they not survive as long? I did, though, find this. This goes back to the 1970s. This was an article that appeared in the Journal of Mammalogy. They tracked through a mark and recapture study the lifespans of several different eastern gray squirrels, which this albino squirrel is a gray squirrel. It's not a fox squirrel. And all of the wild living squirrels, you can see they have different numbers. They mark them by clipping different joints on their toes. They did note in the study that squirrels do lose parts of their toes from time to time, but they're pretty sure that they were marking and recapturing these same squirrels that they had marked. So they've got A3C2D4 and A4C3. They've got all these different scientific names, and then they also observed the two captive squirrels, which I got a kick out of their names, Miss Bonnie, Bonnie and Bugger. Bugger fell victim to Bonnie, which that too I found kind of interesting. In the wild, male squirrels, they'll sometimes raid nests and kill male young squirrels, sometimes their own offspring, just to kind of improve their own chances of siring future litters. I thought it was kind of interesting that I guess Bonnie had enough of Bugger, and he did not survive past 8.16 years. But anyway, this is showing a lifespan on the short end of about 6 years, and on the long end of over 12 years. Squirrels in captivity have been known to live over 20 years. So I don't know if anybody out on Crane Road is going to any extraordinary measures to help protect the little white squirrel, but we'll just, keep our ears open for more reports. I appreciate my friend's dad, who's been keeping an eye on it there as well and posting photos from time to time. But we'll see. So it's at least 4 years old, the albino squirrel, and we'll see how long it keeps going and how it compares to the lifespan of its normal colored cousins. All right, let's since we're talking about old friends who are returning, let's look at who's back in Batavia. I just found out about this afternoon, and my friend Amber ran over to see if she could catch a glimpse of them. They were sighted by Depot Pond. So if you're familiar with downtown Batavia, Depot Pond is that's the area actually that's sort of a part of the whole Batavia Dam discussion and what happens if the dam comes out. Batavia Depot Pond was kind of created as a what would you call it, an addition to the actual flow of the Fox River. Well, the Fox River actually used to flow much differently than it does now through Batavia. But anyway, Depot Pond is next to the Depot Museum. They were sighted there. They were also sighted above the Batavia Dam near an area called Duck Island. So when Amber went to check things out later in the day, they had gone. I don't know if they headed out west to Nelson Lake Marsh. There's another area called Carson Slough that has seen pelicans in the past. Whenever I see white pelicans in this area, it always makes me think of the first time I heard about them. And honest to gosh, I thought somebody was pranking me. It was April Fool's Day of, I believe, the year 2001. I was just not been working too long at Red Oak Nature Center down in North Aurora, and the phone rang. It was late in the day. It was a super windy day. I remember that. And the person who called said, "Hey, Pam, did you hear about the pelicans at Nelson Lake Marsh?" And I thought, oh, yeah, right. Pelicans in Illinois. It's April Fool's. Very funny. I got you. Well, no, they got me because they actually were there. And that may have been, certainly the first time for me, it might have been one of the first times that they were sighted here in Illinois. That heavy, that strong wind that was happening at that time did keep them down. They weren't flying around much for a few days. I was able to get out there and see them at that time, and have looked forward to seeing them every spring ever since. Last year I looked up, and they were sighted in Batavia in I believe it was March 9th is when they were seen in Batavia last year. This year, this is about a week later. I don't know if today was the first day. This is the first day I heard about it, but that's getting on to be 3 weeks or so earlier than that April 1st date from back about 20 years ago. So I don't know if their habits are changing. I do know this. I looked up. So the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, they have a couple of great resources on the internet. One is the website All About Birds, where you literally learn all about birds. You can look up topics on behavior. You can look about how to build bird houses and set up a bird sanctuary type of environment in your yard. You can also look up by species and learn the life history of every single bird that occurs in North America. You can learn about not just how to identify them, but what they do year round. Included on that website for every species is a range map. So that's what we're looking at there on the left. That's what the blue signifies their winter range. The yellow is the migratory part of their year, and then the orange is where they do their breeding at. That's kind of the traditional range map. Now, on the right, Cornell also operates eBird, which is all citizen, or I think we're supposed to say community science generated information now, where you can go on, you can get yourself an account, and you can log on with your sightings. And then over time, these all that data feeds into forming these range maps, like the one we see here on the right. So here we've got purple means year-round. That rusty red color is the breeding territory, breeding range, but where they're at in the summertime. The orange is where we see them during migration. If you compare the two maps, you can see there's some similarities along the Gulf Coast. There's definitely birds that are there overwintering, as well as some birds that are there year round. But the where they're breeding and where they're migrating, they don't seem to be present at all in Illinois when you look at the map on the left. But when you look at the right, you can see that not only are they here, but they also are starting to breed in this area too. So I don't recall the actual numbers, the increases, percentage of increase, but pelicans are one of the species of birds where the numbers are going up. So maybe they have found some things to their liking here in Illinois and in other places. Sorry. The poor puppy was being unsupportive again. So anyway, check out both of these websites if you want to learn all about birds. allaboutbirds.org. And then I really encourage you, if you're all interested in what's going on currently with birds, what's being seen in your area. There's many different ways that you can use the eBird website. Even if you don't do any reporting yourself, you can use it as a source of information for what's going through, what's migrating at a certain time, what's happening in your neighborhood. It's a great resource. Check them both out. So, Miss Bonnie, I have to thank you for this as well. I wasn't able to get any not copyrighted videos, but it is the season for the sky dancers. The woodcock, the male woodcocks are now performing what's known, what Aldo Leopold had termed the sky dance. So this is a bird. And this is not a cartoon of this bird. This is actually what these guys look like. The American woodcock, they are now coming back to their display grounds. They like to find areas where the vegetation is low and where the ground is somewhat damp. So marshy areas, we've seen them here in St. Charles, both at Hickory Knolls in some of the low-lying areas, as well as over at Fearsome Creek Fen. Miss Bonnie, I know you said that you have seen and have been hearing them. The bird, so the sky dance, I really encourage you, if you can, to look up Aldo Leopold's essay that is called, I believe it's called The Sky Dance, where he describes how the male will circle, he'll fly up in the air, I've heard as high as 200 feet, and then he will circle his way down, and you'll hear this funny little twittering sound as he comes down to the ground. He does all this, of course, to to impress the ladies. They may also do some protecting of their territory too, but it's all geared towards getting ourselves more woodcocks. This was a woodcock family that was sighted a little west of town, out towards Johnson's Mound, actually, a couple of years ago. Here's the Hughes Creek Golf Course. But it's that season of the year when males of many different species are going to extraordinary lengths to make sure that their species does continue. One thing, we talk about the sky dance and what, displays that woodcocks make. Something that we don't talk too much about, and I couldn't find a real good illustration, but the woodcock's bill is also pretty remarkable. They are, I believe, I don't know if they're classified as shorebirds, but they probe their bills much the way our shorebirds do. And they have a bill, it's very long, as we saw in the other illustration, but it's also very sensitive. It's very kind of flexible too. It's a great tool. It's almost like tweezers that the bird will use to probe the soil, looking for different sorts of arthropods. Might be earthworms, might be different beetle larvae, things like that live in the ground. But it's a very remarkable adaptation that we don't hear as much about because it's the sky dance that grabs all the headlines. I was actually hoping to show you I know I had a woodcock in my freezer and it's not there. I was looking for it yesterday because I wanted to thaw it out. So that, of course, begs the question, where is it? It could have gone to Hickory Knolls. I'm just going to leave this, as incentive to sign in again another time, folks. It's somewhere, and when I find it, I will make sure to show it to you. So stay tuned on that one. When the woodcock turns up, you'll be the first to know about it. Ms. Bonnie, I have to thank you for this as well. Spring, the last couple of days here in northern Illinois have been just really what we love about spring. The sun strength has increased quite a bit. The snow is melting. Yesterday it was pretty windy. I was out yesterday hoping to hear chorus frogs, but the wind gusts were pretty strong. And even though the temperature was about right for these guys, they don't always call when it's super windy. Wind, sun is kind of the frog's enemy because it can dry them out. Wind is also doesn't do frogs any favors because it can dry out their delicate skin. It's not to say that they won't call when it's windy, but this early in the season, I don't think they want to put themselves in danger of drying out. And they also, the call is going to get carried away more quickly. It's going to get lost in the sound of the wind. So anyway, windy days, not so good. Today, though, the wind was less and these fellas were starting to call in force. So this is a frog. It used to be called the Western chorus frog, and it's now known as the boreal chorus frog in this part of Illinois. I believe, oh gosh, I'll have to double check on this. I want to say the dividing line is I-80 for boreal and western, but I'll have to double check on that. They something that changed in the last, say, 5 years or so. But this is the call that is often likened to the sound of a thumb being dragged over a comb. Not today's modern combs. These are the old, very hard plastic combs that used to dig into your scalp. I remember my mom when she would be parting my hair with it was kind of a fake tortoiseshell looking comb that had these really sharp and very stiff tines. That's the type of comb, if you want to replicate the sound of the chorus frog, that's the kind of comb you want to find. But they are starting to call. Once the chorus frogs started calling, you can bet that the spring peepers are going to be calling too. Now, peepers are chorus frogs are probably our most common springtime frog. The spring peeper, which is every bit as tiny as these guys. I didn't put any scale in this photo. This frog is about the size of a quarter, maybe a little bit smaller. A quarter as in the coin. Spring peepers are also teensy like that, but look at how they inflate that throat sac, and they can really get that song out there. A group of chorus frogs can be heard a quarter mile or half mile sometimes away, depending on how many boys there are in the chorus. And of course, they're doing this to impress the ladies too. They've got the turtles that are spitting, and we've got the woodcocks that are dancing up in the air, and we've got our frogs that are starting to sing. So keep an ear out for them. The protocol, there's the regional Chicago frog calling frogs survey that's going on now. The protocol for listening for frogs calls for a evening temperature of at least 45 degrees, and I think we'll probably be around that tonight. But daytime, which isn't part of the protocol, but you can definitely hear these guys calling. So keep an ear open for these boys in the chorus frogs. We'll probably profile some more frogs as we go through the spring, but I'm so happy to hear that they are out and about these days. So with that, I am going to stop the share here, and there we go, and we're gonna take a look. We got some chats here. Oh, that's a good question, Meg. Would the white squirrel have poor eyesight? I don't know. I've heard that can sometimes be a thing. I've heard that in reference to, say, lab rats that are often albinos and lab mice that are often albinos. I know sometimes white I remember hearing that white cats and dogs are oftentimes deaf they're not albinos though. So I don't know. I'll have to check on that and see what that, if I can find out anything. I'll make a note of that.
Thank you, Pam. I was just curious.
Yeah, that is a good question. And Maggie's probably not too far from you.
Well, I'm not there anymore though, Pam.
Oh,
So I
left?
go there. I'm downtown St. Charles now, so.
Oh gosh, well yeah, you'll have to go back to the old neighborhood and do some.
Well, I do. I was just there on Sunday, so no, I'm there all the time. But I missed that guy because that was so interesting that day when I saw it.
Yeah. Well,
Fascinating.
well, and maybe he saw you, maybe he didn't. Yeah, what's the deal with the girl who was sacrificed? I don't know. Sometimes animals are taken out of a study. Kelly and Greg, I don't know if there was something they were also, that study they were looking at not just longevity, but also what happened, the reproductive changes that happen in a squirrel's body during the breeding season. So it might have been, quote unquote, sacrificed for science, for research purposes. But yeah, it's not easy when you get the scientists get you and gets the animal in its sight. Sometimes they do take them out in the name of science. Okay, so Bob saw 60 pelicans at 6:30 tonight. All right, so sounds like they're here in force, and hopefully they'll stick around for a few days. They, when we looked at that range map, now there is, like, it does indicate that there are some pelicans that are breeding here in Illinois, but generally speaking, their migration route takes them on a northwest pattern, and they head up from here. I don't believe we have any breeding pelicans here in Kane County. I think there might be some out on the Rock River. I know there's some on the Illinois River, but generally speaking, I think they when they leave here, they head northwest. They like the Prairie pothole region of North Dakota and on up into Canada. So that's where they're heading. They don't follow the more stricter north-south routes that we tend to picture when we're thinking about birds flying north in the summer and south in the winter. But they're heading to the northwest. So 60, that's amazing. I'll have to get down there and check that out. And okay, and a bunch of white pelicans at Starved Rock all summer long. So yeah, they are around here. I remember seeing some in July out in Oregon by the dam that's in Oregon, Illinois. So I think they're finding things to their liking here, and it could be one of the reasons that their numbers are going up. Okay, with that, does anybody have anything else they'd like to share tonight? If not, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and hope we'll see you back again next week. Really wishing I had made a video earlier today, and it was going to be, I don't know if you guys ever watch that CBS Sunday morning show, and they always conclude with like 30 seconds or so of nature sounds. Well, I hit some kind of cool. There was red-winged blackbird that was singing, and there was a couple other birds. There was a song sparrow. But there was so much traffic noise. I thought, this is not restful at all. This is just sort of annoying. So I'm going to keep trying to do that. We may experiment with that at a future Good Natured. So with that, I'm just going to wave goodbye.
Thank you, Pam.
Tell everybody, have a great rest of your week. I'll see you back next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Pam.
Thanks, Pam.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Pam. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.